We're driving along from the grocery store in our new rental car, and we're going to the church parking lot to go have some lunch and chill. My mom's driving, and I'm passenger princess because the woman's got a valid driver's license and I'm no body chauffeur. So we're about to go over a speed bump that we've gone over 1,000 times. But unfortunately, 40-something years of driving didn't teach my mom to safely operate a vehicle with air brakes so sensitive, the itch you feel in your baby toe could bring the car to a dead stop. So, as always, we're in a spirited back and forth conversation about some topic I'm always right about and she's obviously wrong about. And then the speed bump appeared, and my mom suddenly remembered after the fact that she needed to react by applying the brakes. And so she stepped on the brake pedal as she normally would. Now, air brakes don't need a firm stomp. It wants a gentle boop. And my mom just put her whole foot through the dashboard. Crash, bang, scrape, clang. And suddenly, we're on the sidewalk. What in Whoville just happened? I think I just blacked out and got whiplash. But also, did we just crash our brand new rental car?
Everybody has a dirty little secret. Mine had 4 wheels, no bathroom, and the nerve to call itself temporary. I'm Mika, and this is Accidentally Homeless, where survival has jokes, rock bottom has wheels, and the scenic route goes straight through hell.
Last episode, we proved we survived rock bottom. This episode, we need to build a way out of it. With a little money and a lot of audacity, we start turning skills, connections, and sheer determination into actual opportunities to get us out for good. But first, because God forbid anything goes smoothly, we crash our brand new rental car. We're back in the parking lot, but everything feels different. Like we didn't just spend 5 weeks in the armpit of hell. We had a new car and a bit of safety in the bank, and we didn't have to ask nobody for jack shit nothing. And if there's one thing that makes you feel like you've lost your dignity is when you have to ask people to allow you, of the kindness of their hearts, to not die, not starve, and to continue living. For the first time since this shit show began, we felt like we had some power over our lives. Money meant a full tank of fuel in the car at all times. None of that blinking light, driving on air nonsense. We could parking lot hop freely and even take some scenic drives and visit tourist spots. So on the surface, we leveled up. We allowed ourselves some small upgrades, like joining a gym. And it wasn't even purely about fitness, really. What we were after were showers and bathrooms. A place to exist like normal people for an hour a day. Like our dignity was back. I mean, look, wet wipe baths were still a thing, but now we could afford body and special face wet wipes. And now spraying ourselves in the YSL opium and Elie Saab, de parfum left over from our previous life, didn't feel like covering up stink. It just felt like we were ladies that smelled nice. We had a fun set aside for Airbnbs just for a night, and that became a thing. Every 2 to 3 weeks, we'd check into an Airbnb just to bathe, sleep, and pretend for 2 seconds that we were on vacation. Like a reset before the clock strikes midnight and we turn back into homeless Cinderellas. Bougie homeless Cinderellas, but homeless nonetheless. And now we had weekly laundromat money so we could go to the laundromat, wash and dry our clothes like normal people, and do it all over again the next week, instead of sporadically or desperately washing our underwear in a Tupperware with a water bottle. What we needed now wasn't to master survival. It was income. Not little miracles, not hand-ups, plain old sustainability. We'd got to the point where money stopped the constant spot fires and hemorrhaging. The bleeding was under control. The trauma surgery versions of ourselves could scrub out. And where we were now was where we needed a vascular surgeon to come in, precisely repair the damaged arteries, and restore blood flow once and for all. Blood flow, in this case, was income. Because here's the thing. Our current version of stability was living on borrowed time, and the clock was always ticking. So the question was, what are we going to do from where we are to generate an income before our lump sum eventually ran out? We had to think beyond, let me just get a menial job. I mean, no disrespect to menial jobs and the humans that work them, but a menial job wasn't going to pay the crater-sized financial holes we'd need to cover if we were going to start over in a conventional way. I mean, our overheads were hella high, and the stakes to transition back to non-car normal life were even higher. Either way, to maintain what we had or to shift out of it was going to take some serious monthly income. So we approached it differently. What are we good at? What valuable skills do we have that can have a high market value that we could basically just sell people on and give them a reason to pay us to do just that? But also, who do I know? Everything we'd ever done, every skill we'd ever learned was on the table. But for my mom, teaching and any conventional bread and butter shit she'd pursued before was off the table because ageism said, no ma'am. So she's like, okay, I'm 59. I've been a mom. I can't really profit off of that. She's also an artist who's painted a gazillion murals and put food on the table for a long time that way. So she decides that, yes, even though her body is failing and betraying her, that's what she's going to do. Because society can't tell you when to stop creating art. So she's like, okay. She's worked with nonprofit organizations before. She's an artist. And she's been a teacher. So how can all those things cross paths and turn into one money-making opportunity? So she found a nonprofit that worked with at-risk youth and taught them to use art to keep them off the streets. Perfect. So fast forward to she connects with the organization, met with them, they loved her portfolio, and they just happened to need an artist to come in and upgrade their offices with wall murals. I mean, it was promising enough for them to request a full presentation and mock-ups. So that becomes her mission. Because this was a big job for any artist. Never mind a 59-year-old whose body was staging a full-scale mutiny. At the same time, I'd been working on the who you know angle. And I came up with the totally genius, but again, slightly bonkers idea that I was going to reach out to an influential, powerful human I'd met in my previous life, sell them on my skills, and basically create a job that didn't exist in their creative company. The only thing was I'd have to get honest and expose my current life circumstances, and I would have rather sat down for acupuncture in my eyeballs, but if I wanted out, I was going to have to get creative and do what I got to do. It's not even a real job at first, kind of just something I pitch into existence. So emails, conversations, just trying to position myself into something that could become income. And this had the added benefit that if it somehow became real, I would be working for a US company right from where I was. And that meant that we wouldn't be working with rands anymore, but rather dollars, which is the financial edge that we needed. So now our days looked drastically different. We worked in the library for hours. My mom on her mural pitch and me trying to push this creative opportunity forward. We even got a Wi-Fi router and hooked up a permanent internet connection. No more coffee shop Wi-Fi stealing. It felt like we were solving problems and building something. Like we were on our way to getting out and maybe finally laying the groundwork for this nightmare to exit our lives stage left. And then my laptop died. The bitch didn't give a warning, not a farewell note, nothing. It just died. Fucking Apple. They make you buy into their whole, we're the best, we're superior, we're so cool spiel. And then they just die. Not like Windows that slowly start glitching and have the courtesy to warn you and also never promise that they were the best. The machine I had been relying on to get me a job that required I work full time on a machine just died. I felt like a freshly baked bread that just came out of the friggin' dishwasher. This is a screw up that happened at the exact moment I didn't need a screw up to happen. But you know what I've learned? The universe just loves a problem. They love to watch us squirm. They're literally the best suspense writers that you'll ever hear of. Just when you think now is not a good time to deal with a crisis, that's exactly when the universe sends one. Like in The Sims, when your sim needs to sleep, they're hungry, they stink, and they've got a screaming baby in the other room. And then you, as the game controller, goes and decides to delete the door of the room that they're in and delete the fridge, essentially cutting the sim off from getting to the bathroom, cooking food, and reaching the screaming baby. That's what our lives felt like. Just us and a really bored game controller who needs to keep shit interesting and amuse themselves with our struggles. So now, everything I'm doing, emails, pitches, documents, calls, is on my phone. And I'm sitting there typing life-altering emails, creating pitch documents, and having Zooms, trying my darndest to just look professional from a tiny screen. Sitting in a car in a freaking parking lot. And in between all of this, we're still keeping up with car life. Where to park, where to move, when to pee. Because survival was still very much active in the background, and it never stopped demanding admin. By all accounts, everything looked better than it had since we started living this disaster show. The horizon was actually starting to look like a horizon and not like the endless black darkness of Satan's butthole. But here's the thing. We were still planning our whole existence around a parking spot. I realized that we were now living in a space of good things are possibly maybe starting to happen. But that don't mean shit when we're still trying to cross the gap between managing homelessness and actually being out of it. And then we pull up to the place where progress quits looking like a funhouse of mirrors. My mom's mural opportunity requests a second meeting after seeing her pitch. It's not just talk anymore. My conversations with the US company is actually going somewhere. They're responding, we're talking, and there are actual next steps instead of me just sending emails into the abyss. Suddenly, this thing I invented out of desperation is actually looking like it could become real work. Sure. Was it possible that they were just entertaining me out of politeness? Yeah. But I didn't have the luxury of believing that. I had to believe with everything that I had, that this was going to end up in me getting a gig and creating stability from this. And for the first time in a while, the future started to look pretty damn handsome. On top of that, my mom was able to get back on her meds that she'd been sporadically taking to save money ever since, homelessness. Listen, when you're mentally the equivalent of a 0 on the Richter scale, as in you're not dealing with any major chronic mental health dumpster fires, homelessness is pretty freaking horrible to deal with. But when you have depression, you're in an on-again, off-again situationship with your meds, and catastrophe in motion is your natural state, homelessness on top of that is like pouring battery acid into a paper cut. So to say that we were both relieved that the meds had entered the chat again is an understatement. And then we bumped into an old friend of ours. Chaos! So my mom was driving the rental. It had air brakes. And air brakes require the force it takes to crack an egg to bring a car to a stop. I knew this. And I knew my mom learned to drive in the era where power steering was still in somebody's thought box. I knew all of this. And yet, I chose this day and this circumstance to die on the hill that I'm nobody's chauffeur and my mom needed to drive too. A speed bump. A sudden brake response. Shit! Fuck! Panic! We're on the sidewalk. My mom is scream crying. My inner voice is telling me, idiot! You should have just drove. The car is toast. From our POV, we've just rolled the car and it's friggin' totaled. There were not enough words in the English language to describe how fucked we were. This was not an inconvenience. It was basically the equivalent of setting fire to the parachute on the motherfucking way down. So we both flew out of the car. I don't even know if my mom pulled up the handbrake. And we inspect the damage because for the sounds I heard coming out of that car, it sounded like we'd been dragged under a semi-truck for 15 kilometers. What we found was a big scrape on the side of the front bumper, more scrapes on the right side front wheel, and the worst was this huge flap of plastic just hanging down underneath the front bumper. The bumper's whole undercarriage was exposed, which is like the human equivalent of having your whole ass out. I mean, we thought the car had lost an entire diff. The shit-fuck spiral was immediate. How much is this going to cost? Can we even fix it? Are we about to lose everything we just fought for? Is our whole car deposit just gone? Shit. Fuck. Shit. Motherfucking shit. And there we went and thought money made us safe. Ha! Wrong. Money made us comfortable, and we mistook it for untouchable. And in that moment, the realization was chaos is order. In this life, in these circumstances, chaos was order. And that's a hard pill to swallow because was it too much to ask for a little calm and peace in rough waters? Yes, it was. And that sunk in. It was too much to ask for normal when we were knee-deep in batshit craziness. Everything rests on borrowed time, borrowed cars, borrowed stability, and opportunities that are yet to say yes. We think we've got a plan. Fix the car, get the deposit back, buy ourselves more time, get the work to come through, and keep moving forward. It's a fragile plan, but it's a plan. And still, after everything that we've survived, we're stupid enough to think that maybe this time, if we just execute it properly, nothing will go wrong. We were terribly terribly wrong. Next time, the car has to get fixed. The deposit is on the line, the clock is ticking, and we simply just run out of road.